The Marching Roundtable is proud to be an official media partner of Drum Corps International.
Thanks for coming to the Marching Roundtable YouTube channel, sharing great information to help you succeed in all the marching arts. While you're here, we hope you'll subscribe.
How can we put a twist on things and still be the Colts, and still be audience centric in that we want people to be able to recognize things out there, but it's okay to think a little bit. That's something that we've tried to push a little bit this year. Is it's okay that you have to think just a little bit. We don't want to go so far in left field where everybody's like, what? And scratching their heads at the end. So that's kind of where this show started. We actually have 2 color guards this year. We've split the color guard in half. So we have what we're calling the awake dream, which is the lucid dream, the awake color guard, and we've got the asleep color guard. So we've got these 2 that are back and forth. Sometimes you're deep, sometimes you're in, sometimes you don't know what you're doing. It's kind of in between, and you're that in between state.
I feel like our aesthetic and our color scheme is an effect in itself this year. I really do. So I'm excited for people to see that. And we're unique. We don't, which is demanding in our activity. There's so many people that find, there's so many good things that people are comfortable with, but I think this, us being unique, there is a little bit of discomfort at first, but again, that's slowly washing away with the confidence from the members and watching them bring the show to life.
Hey everybody, it's Tim Hinton, the Beast of the Marching Arts. It's a Drum Corps conversation about the Colts, and we're going to be talking about the show and getting behind the scenes stuff. So excited to be here tonight with Don Click. Don, how are you?
Doing awesome. How are you, Tim?
I am wonderful. And Sean McElroy is with us as well. Sean, how are you?
Doing great. Here with the Corps, ready to hit the road later tonight.
That's right. So actually, everybody, Sean is with the Corps. Where are you, Sean, in the world?
So we are in Des Moines, Iowa. Few hours drive south of Dubuque, where the Corps is from, and we are at Drake University. We are just concluding our spring training. It's Wednesday. What do we got today? June 25th. Right. And we have 2 blocks today. We gave the members a bunch of time to pack up, all of our tour spreads, so to speak. And, about an hour or so here, buses are going to be rolling for pretty much the first time. We're going to make got a long haul tonight, about a 10-hour drive. So
wow,
should be
Sean,
fun.
You're so nice to stop in the middle of all of that really important work to talk with us here.
Not a problem. Always love these conversations.
Oh, thank you. We'll try to make it quick because I don't want you to miss the bus. And you got a long trip in front of you. Don, you are at home for a few days, right?
I am. I just got off the road. I was with the Corps for about 5 days, so I just came back. I have a desk job, a day job, so I kind of have to go in there every once in a while and show my face. I mean, I've got vacation days, but of course my vacation days are really pageantry days. So I have to kind of pick and choose when I can be on the road and when not. But I do leave tomorrow and head and meet the Corps when they get to Denver. So I don't have to do the 10-hour drive like Sean. I just get a couple-hour plane ride.
How cool that you guys are in that Denver show. I love it. So everybody, Don is the program director and Sean is a program facilitator and staff coordinator. And we are going to get some behind the scenes on the show. So Sean, you were there in the thick of it. You're about to get on the bus and travel. Tell us how things are going. How do you feel about it?
Well, things are going really, really well. We've learned our entire production, but we're just a few steps away from buttoning it up with doing the first full run as a full drum corps. The music ensemble, brass and percussion, we did our first complete run through last night. The guard is pretty much complete with their show, but they're just about one step away from being able to do it in its entirety. Honestly, had we probably had a longer day today, we would have gotten it out there. So we're feeling good. We've got Thursday and Friday to wrap up the loose ends for the remaining, we have 5 parts in the show. It's really that 5th part that, we've got a few tasks to complete to make sure the members are completely ready. And we feel really good coming into the weekend. The urgency has been awesome out here. Typical drum corps battles of, lightning, heat, and, just that the physical nature of what we do, but the members are tackling them head on. Leadership in the Corps is particularly strong. It's my first year with the Corps this year, but from what I can tell, the leadership seems particularly on point, in terms of the members. And I think that's going to be a strength we rely on for sure going through the tour process, especially. So
Well, of course, and like Don, those student leaders are especially critical when you get into that sort of slog of like, okay, we have been in spring training a really long time. I'm ready to get on the field and perform for somebody, and like you're still pushing through.
Exactly. And the student leadership, I think the key to those guys and how they are so pivotal in what we do is not just on the field, but off the field. Because you just, like I said, you're slugging along every day. Every day it's just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And then all of a sudden after rehearsal and before lights out, right there at meal 4, when there's that social time, that's where they can really help anybody that happens to be struggling, and not just with the marching and the playing and the spinning and the drumming, but just being there. And for some of these kids, that's the first time away from their family for that long. And for the ones that have never marched drum corps before, we've all done band camp, but band camp and drum corps spring training, that's a different bear. So all of a sudden you've got the instructors and the staff and the leadership trying to help, but I think it really helps with the students having somebody appear to talk to about some of those things that they may have issues with or problems, or just words of encouragement is huge.
Yeah.
And we've got fantastic student leadership. We often joke that our drum major Carissa, who's been with us for several years, she could run the corps at any given time. We could just step away and she could take over and run. She is that strong, as well as just all the section leaders. It's just phenomenal. We're very lucky to have the students that we do in those positions.
yeah,
So
yeah,
Sean, how does
Carissa's
that
amazing. Sorry, Tim.
go?
Yeah, I gotta reiterate what Tom said about Carissa. She is phenomenal. Like there are times where she does kind of run it, like not that she's just able to. There's times where she's like, "Hey, isn't this the next rep?" And we're like, "Yeah, sorry, Carissa, you got it." I'm like, it's fun. It's really cool to have that resource. So
Well, and the
yeah,
students, the members having that sort of ownership and around the program is super important. Like this is like high level stuff, right? Like we all try to get our programs to do this where they feel that ownership and that ability to have that kind of distinctive role. Do you talk to those student leaders? Do you do any sort of instruction to help them learn how to be effective? Like, is that part of your program?
yeah, absolutely. So the leadership meets once a week, Mondays during our second meal, and usually that's a conversation. It being my first year here, I'm definitely a little bit more on the observant side right now, and just
Sure.
really trying to listen to what they're saying. But Josh Nelson, our percussion caption head, Jack Borland, the visual caption head, Chad, the brass caption head, they have a really strong presence in those meetings. And they have a great rapport with the members, and those meetings are usually very conversational, and we're getting a lot of feedback from what the student leadership, their thoughts and ideas, and and that's our time to kind of cultivate our approach as a leadership, if that makes sense. Like where they're not just asking things of the staff about logistics, this and that, but they're also talking about like, hey, in these situations, let's talk like this, and like, and I think that's, they're trying to create an atmosphere, obviously, that's, deliberate and inclusive and everything. And it's really cool. So
Well, I think the interesting part about that is it really starts with our administration and our admin. When people talk to me about coming to the Colts, and we talk to parents and we talk to potential members, the one thing that I tell them is the Colts, just as an organization, is very nurturing. That's just kind of how the culture is at the Colts, and that starts all the way at the top with Jeff McFarland and Vicky as the core director and Kathleen, and that's the board of directors, very nurturing as a drum corps. And I think the members see that, and the leadership in the members see that. And that's just kind of the expectation that we're all in this together. And I know all drum corps have got that familial feel about it, and that's our goal. But for the Colts, I think that starts at the top of just how the organization is set up from the beginning. And I think that's one thing that I pride myself in when I tell people that I'm associated with the Colts. And like I said, we've got the student leadership sees that in the admin and then just duplicates that.
Yeah, absolutely. And gosh, how amazing that there's this system in place where you can really find out, like, well, the members and the student leaders, member leadership, they really know how everybody's feeling. So the fact that the staff is so interested in actually making sure, checking in, having those conversations, I think that's really amazing. And gosh, if I'm a parent, I want to make sure my student is going to be taken care of. So I love what you're talking about with that atmosphere and that culture in the core. And we know that about the Colts. That's really part of the reputation of the core. Been around a long time and taking care of students for sure. So when we're recording this, the show has not been announced, but I'm hoping that we're going to be able to talk a little bit about, tell us a little bit about it, so that fans that are watching this will sort of know a little insight into what to watch for. Where would you guys like to start that conversation?
Sure. I'd like to start back in August. I know. Let's start back in August. In previous years, this is my 7th year with the Corps, if you include COVID. I include COVID because when COVID hit and everything shut down, we as a design team actually kept meeting. We never stopped. We still had our weekly meetings. And so the show that we were going to do for 2020, we actually did for 2021 with modifications. And the one thing that we've really pride ourselves on over the past 7 years has been, we want our shows to be relatable. We want the audience to be able to look at it and not require a philosophy degree. We want them to be able to look at it and say, oh, I get that. I get that. We often say that if the audience feels smart, we've done our job, because they then recognize, and if you recognize something and appreciate, then your appreciation is just raised. Right now, as soon as I say that, this year, right after finals, we were like, okay, we're trucking along, we're doing great. Maybe we need to mix it up a little bit. Maybe we need to push our own boundaries. We had kind of gotten comfortable, and I feel like we had been making good strides, and we were on a good trajectory as an organization, both on and off the field. But maybe we need to do something a little bit different. So this year's show is a little bit different for us. And it's been fun. It's been really exciting. We started with a loose concept, and then we explored all the musical options first, and we're like, what are the performers going to love to do day in and day out? What are they have to love the show. What are they going to love? What can we do to make it to where they love the show? In the past couple of years, we've done some Pat Metheny and stuff like that, and the audience loves it, very recognizable, and most of the kids do, but some of them don't. So what can we do that can really get them excited? And how can we put a twist on things, right? How can we put a twist on things and still be the Colts, and still be audience centric, in that we want people to be able to recognize things out there, but it's okay to think a little bit. That's something that we've tried to push a little bit this year. Is it's okay that you have to think just a little bit. We don't want to go so far in left field where everybody's like, what? And scratching their heads at the end. So that's kind of where this show started. So yeah, we're excited to show the world this. We had our little community preview show a couple days ago, and a couple of the uniform pictures leaked out. We haven't done the official announcement yet, and some people are like, "What in the world is this?" because you've got to see it in context.
In context,
gosh, in context.
Don, do I say that to people all the time? People react. We know how people are online, but they react to it, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense unless you see it in the show, everybody. You need to reserve your judgment, and let's give everybody the benefit of the doubt. So I'm glad you said that.
Right. Now, the performers are loving the show. They absolutely love it. They love performing it, which is, in my mind, is a success already. So I'm very, very excited about that. Sean, what are you feeling about the students and how they're approaching this show, and kind of with you being new, it's a slightly different approach for Colts, but for you, this is all new. So what are you hearing from them on the field?
So the couple common themes I'm hearing is that, yes, there's obviously this common awareness that our show is maybe a step up in in terms of like just effectiveness, coordination, communication, depth, all interest, creativity, all of those things that, add up to a good show. And I think there's just a general set, like, I think the members are, in the first couple of weeks, you could see them start to slowly agree that like, yeah, we've got something special here, and I think we were able to recognize that pretty early on. Like we have a really strong, really appealing opening, intro. Our part one to the show is just really like cool drum corps. I think we do a good job of setting the stage for the concept that comes afterwards. So it was a really good start to our season to have that, and for us all to be able to feel so confident about that. And then from there, the confidence has only just grown from that. Now I will say this show is very demanding in a logistics and uh, the way this is a very hard show to rehearse. We're finding out because of some of the prop things that we're choosing to do, and we're kind of like starting with a deconstructed puzzle with our set pieces and prop pieces. And throughout the show, we engineer them into some bigger elements. And Don, I don't know if you want to go into more detail on that, but I'll definitely speak to the fact that that has definitely been a new level of demand. But I really feel, and I can't wait for the fans to see it because uh, there's so many moving parts and layers to it, and it really does evolve into something that like the sum of these parts is a clear evolution, and it's really fun, and to the uniforms, like the uniforms are one pixel of this beautiful canvas that the design team has created,
Right.
so it's real like, and as soon as like you're able to step back and enjoy like it real like the color, I feel like our aesthetic and our color scheme is an effect in itself this year. I really do. So I'm excited for people to see that. And we're unique. We don't, like, which is demanding in our activity. There's so many people that find, there's so many good things that people are comfortable with, but I think us being unique, there is a little bit of discomfort at first, but again, that's slowly washing away with the confidence from the members and watching them bring the show to life and everything, so it's been really cool.
Man, I love it. So, Don, can you tell us a little bit about this concept?
The name of the show is Restless Dreams. So it's all about a dream. It's a dreamscape. Now, we've seen dream shows forever and ever. People do dream shows. So don't expect to see somebody laying down with the lullaby song being played on the bells or the glockenspiel and laying down in a sheet. It's not that, because it's more about a lucid dream. And so anytime you think about a lucid dream, as we know, is a dream where you're awake or you're aware you're dreaming. So there's the deep side where you're truly asleep. And then all of a sudden there's the lucid side where you recognize that you're in a dream. Now, because we're in this dream state, we as a design team could really do anything we wanted. You know what I mean? Because when you think about a dream, and for most people that dream, it just bounces around and you're like, how did I get here? And then all of a sudden you're here and you hear this, or you see this, or it's almost like you smell this, that sort of thing. So it's allowed us to have tons of creativity, yet it's not a true narrative, but we do kind of take you on a ride. So at the beginning, we go to sleep. We go to sleep, we're going into the dream. So you're going to hear like a countdown, almost like you're laying in bed, like you're counting sheep, or, your mind is restless and it slowly calms down, right? And then you get into the dreamscape, and that's where things start to happen, and all kinds of stuff goes from there. So, we actually have two color guards this year. We've split the color guard in half. So we have what we're calling the awake dream, which is the lucid dream, the awake color guard, and we've got the asleep color guard. So we've got these two that are back and forth. Sometimes you're deep, sometimes you're in, sometimes you don't know what you're doing. It's kind of in between, and you're that in between state. We're using a lot of imagery that you would possibly see in a dream. So you've got all these little images that will pop up, and then through our music selection, there's a few little lyrics in there. It's not a Wikipedia show or an after school special like we say sometimes, of I'm just telling you what to listen to and what to remember. We're inviting you in, and it's like I said, it's very dreamscape. So it's like this voice was going through your head. Now, the interesting part about it is, if you've seen some of the movies where there is what we're calling a dream anchor. right? So sometimes you are like, wait a minute, I see that. And you see the same thing throughout the dream. Probably one of the most common ones out there is the movie Inception, where it's got the top, right? So
Sure.
they've got the top, and that's their dream anchor. Well,
Right.
we do have a dream anchor throughout the show, and that, of course, is a red triangle because we're the Colts, we're the red team, and that's our logo and that's our triangle, right? So that's our dream anchor. So the audience is going to be able to see little dream anchors popping up throughout the show. Sometimes they're small, sometimes they're big, sometimes they're expected, sometimes they're not expected. So it's just a lot of fun. We're just having a blast with it so far, and the students, like I said, are really grasping onto it, but they're still trying to understand it themselves. They're still trying to understand. Oh, well, this is kind of means this. This is how I would feel if I were in a dream in this part of the show. So
Yeah, and one of the things that you just mentioned is I always like to remind fans that shows evolve and grow and change and get better and more depth all throughout the season, and we have to allow the course to do that, everybody. So the first time you see it, you need to go, okay, this is really cool. I like it. I can't wait to see the next time I see it, what's different, what's grown, what's more depth. Because we all know that by the time you get to finals, there is so much more to it. So I just want to remind everybody of that. Sean, just from what he just said, I'm starting to imagine all the logistics of all the things that probably have to appear or be
Yeah.
put together. Like that makes sense.
Yeah, well, and the design team did a really incredible job this year of just making sure, out of all like Don, to me, Don was speaking to a lot of the variety we have in the show. It does this abstract world we're creating has the freedom to go many different directions. But I think the design team, through the use of the dream anchor and through the use of always seamless transitions from idea to idea. You stay in, you're not, nothing feels like a left turn. Like the unexpected things almost feel inevitable, if that's a good way to put it, because it again, the transitions are so natural, and I'm so happy for that because uh transitions are demanding, especially when you're trying to stretch the realms of variety, and because getting from such a diverse thought to another thought, that transition between, that's where the magic is made sometimes. And I think CJ, our one of our music designers, like, and the whole music team, the visual team, they did a really good job of making sure those corners of the show don't lose interest and immediately guide you into the next element. And it's the triangle Don is speaking of. I don't know how much, I don't know if we want to reveal everything, for the fans, but I will, like, there are, the red triangles, there's a lot of them out there, and they're in every scale. There's sometimes small printed images, sometimes handheld, sometimes about a human-sized prop shape or something. And then at the end, we've got a plan where it's rather large, very, very large, when you see the dream anchor. And um it's it's definitely again, the variety is demanding, and I wish I could tell that to the judges right now. Like the variety is so, it's a different type of demand because we're not repeating responsibilities. The responsibilities are always different, and the members have to be well versed in multiple types of languages. We have a lot of awesome choreo. But like the way we're moving these props and the way it's integrated with the drill, hopefully we make it so that it doesn't look that hard, but just know that like it really is complex underneath this, and in terms of how Richard Henshar, the drill writer, wrote the drill to manipulate the props so that, again, it's a giant puzzle, like with multiple faces of the props that all come together right at the end, to make something bigger. And it's it was incredible to watch this puzzle happen, kind of like reverse engineered, basically,
Right, right.
and you didn't even see the picture until the end, as most puzzles are, but we had to know the end at first and then go backwards, so it was, it's been a really interesting, creative process, I think. So
the cool thing about it is we're still a drum corps, people still expect us to sound and be a drum corps. And Mike Miller, our brass arranger, has done that, where there are moments you're like, yeah, this is a drum corps, and this is going to sound kind of interesting, but there's some parts of the show where like, oh my gosh, Allentown's going to love this. Allentown's going to love this, because we know that's a tough audience, right? And they expect drum corps. And so there are moments throughout the show where we give them drum corps, and that's going to be really exciting to see how the crowd reacts to that.
Yeah, I love that, because it's an interesting time for like an old time fan like me, right? I've been around since the 70s watching and loving drum corps. So I'm all about letting it evolve and be what it is, but I also want it to be what I want it to be too. And so I appreciate that you said that there's those moments for me. I guess I'm a little bit of an Allentown at heart by the way you're describing it. This sounds really interesting. And the trick, Sean, as you sort of mentioned, is if you do your job correctly in manipulating and moving all of these things through the transitions, nobody's going to really notice it, and you don't really get credit for how hard it is necessarily. At least the audience maybe shouldn't realize how hard you're having to work, or maybe the designers had to work to make that actually happen.
Right. And that's something, it's something that, that's why luckily we get a chance to talk with the judges through critiques all throughout the season, and we can help through conversation, help explain what we see as some of the more demanding responsibilities that are being placed on our members. And, because the activity has evolved where there's a lot of responsibilities on all three sections, that are just not as traditional anymore. And sometimes that's where like the magic happens a little bit, in a modern activity, so, and going back, Tim, I wanted to come back. I really appreciate that you're talking about like the leaving room for the show to evolve. Because another thing I think the designers did really well for the Colts this year, our show we have some planned forms of evolution where it's like, hey, we're going to do this right now, with keeping in mind we're going to do this differently in the next step later. But I also think that there's plenty. I think they did a good job of leaving the opportunity for like serendipitous ideas to happen, and that's because that's where sometimes the magic happens, when the coordination starts to come together, and then you see an opportunity and you're like, all right, that there's an idea now, because of the opportunity presented, and I think this show has the room to do that. But yeah, like take away the uniforms, the props, the spinning, the choreo, the music, the drill, it's effective, and that's, to me, that's that drum corps, Allentown, like just raw, the nuts and bolts of what we're doing. It's awesome. We love it, and I think the fans are going to love it. So, yeah.
It's great. And I love the idea that a show about dreams and how they might move or things might appear, whatever, would have the ability during the summer to sort of have things appear, like you said, sort of serendipitously, and all of a sudden, oh wow, that needs to happen. Or there's something someone did needs to move the show. Winter guards have the ability to do that much more flexibly than drum corps. Of course, drum corps have the ability to do it much more flexibly than marching bands, because they have all that time together to rehearse and change and grow. And that's one of the things that's so exciting about the drum corps activity. Don, you created this template, but then now you have this sort of opportunity for things to happen that are very exciting.
It is exciting. Like Sean was saying, sometimes we'll be sitting in the stands as a staff design team, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, and then the ones that are not there, we get on the phone, we start texting and taking videos. What if it would be cool if, and then we have to kind of like, okay, yes, it would be cool if, but that's a minute and a half rewrite. So let's think this through, how we can do this efficiently and still get that amazing idea out on the field.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, I think it sounds like a really, really interesting show. You've done what I wanted you to do on this conversation, which is you made me want to see the show, and I cannot wait to watch it. And this is going to be a show that I'm going to pay attention to all throughout the season, because I think now we have some nuggets of what to look for and what the intent is, and then to watch it grow and evolve and turn into something even more magical by the end is going to be really fun. So the Colts are giving us a fun project for the summer to go along on with them. I think it's going to be very cool. let each of you have a final thought. Don, anything you want to say about the show or about the core as we're closing this
Well,
conversation?
with the core, I just want to say that I appreciate our leadership that starts with the board of directors and Jeff McFarland is the executive director and Vicky and Kathleen. I appreciate them giving us this opportunity to do this. And I don't think it's a secret that the Colts are run very well. We're a very well run drum corps. People know that and I appreciate that. They make sure that we are financially sound. We're not frivolous, but we have what we need. Maybe not always what we want, of course, but what we need. So we travel well, we eat well. The students are taken care of. They're always looking for opportunities to do things better at the organization. For example, just last year, they purchased a t-shirt printing company. So now the Corps owns a t-shirt printing company. We print shirts for not only local activities in Dubuque, we actually are printing some of the t-shirts for other drum corps this year. And so marching bands are coming. Everybody's got matching shirts. So things like that of thinking outside the box of how can we make sure that we continue that financial stability, I think is so important. And I am so appreciative of that. And I just admire those guys for thinking like that. And as far as the show goes, I'm hyped to see the members perform this Saturday night in Denver for the first time. By the time the audience sees this, we're already going to be past that. We're going to be to the next show. I'm really excited for them to get to finally perform because we've been rehearsing since November, and I'm really hyped for them, and I hope they get the crowd response that they deserve. Thanks for having us on. I appreciate it.
Oh gosh, of
Big
course.
time.
And I want to tell you, like, I feel like that sort of stability, taking care of business, taking care of the members' reputation is part of the reputation of the Colts. I just think that's in the DNA, and I think we all see the core that way. And that's something really for the organization to be proud of. Sean, you're going to get the final word. What would you like to say as you're about to jump on the bus and head off to Denver?
Yeah, I think to the listeners, don't sleep on the Colts this year. This is going to be, we're aiming to make a surge, this year, and we're the members, the staff, the design team, the administration. We're trying to do that through organizational growth. It's kind of what Don was just saying, and like I'm really, really excited, not just for this year, but I hope the members at the end of this year maybe are able to look back and realize they set a foundation for the continued growth of this organization, one next step in setting the foundation for our continued growth. And because I think this year is going to be more about just this year. I really think this is going to be about like the next step for the Colts, and we'll be able to look back at this year and talk about it that way. And it's a competitive activity. I'm not even talking about placements or whatever. I'm talking about like, we're going to come out there and you're going to notice an upgrade, and I'm really excited for everybody to see that. So
I love it. Well, we're all excited. We're on the edge of our seats. Everybody, let's cheer them on. Let's wait and see how the show grows and develops. It's going to be really fun. Don and Sean, thank you for talking to me, and thank you for the great work you're doing for those members and for that core. It's really exciting to see.
Thank you very much.
Marching Arts Education is the home of the Marching Roundtable podcast. We give you access to the top marching arts professionals through live webinars, podcasts, videos, interviews, and online coursework. With over 1,000 podcasts and hundreds of webinars and videos, there are hours of great professional development for you and your staff. Imagine what you could do with so many great new ideas from the top professionals in our activity. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and sign up for our newsletter to find out about the latest podcasts, webinars, and new content. Find all of this and sign up at marchingartseducation.com.